Now, first off, you might be wondering, is this guy for real? Is he actually being blindfolded and walking around every day? Yes. 2, you might be wondering, hey, are you just clickbaiting us? The answer to that is no. I promise you that this is not a clickbait. I actually do try to walk around at least a portion of the day, like around 30 seconds to 2 minutes a day, walking around with my eyes closed or with a blindfold on, and this is the absolute truth, and we'll get into why that actually is right about now. Alright guys, so welcome back to the channel. It's your boy John Lee. We out here again. Here is a blindfold, and I'll show you guys right here is a clip of me actually walking in my backyard with a blindfold on, and I do that here as I live in Maryland. I either do that, whether it be for 30 seconds to 2 minutes of just kind of walking blindfolded, or just throughout my day when I'm at work, walking down a hallway in a very safe and controlled environment. I walk with my eyes closed. So I want to preface this whole thing, like, big warning, it's going to be right here. Like, do not try this on like a regular path or what have you. Like, you really need to be safe when you're doing this. It took me a while to really get comfortable with it, but you have to really find a spot that's safe, you won't be in any danger, and you're comfortable with doing so. Don't just, this is not one of those things that works for everyone. This is not one of those things that you should just dive head first into, where you just try to go close your eyes for 2 minutes and walk. That is not going to work for you, in my opinion. Maybe it will, but I highly doubt it. So yeah, just want to preface that, big warning right there. Preserve your health and your safety, okay? That's number one, always. Now that that's out of the way, for the past approximately year and a half or so, I've been doing this as frequently as I can. I would say on average I'll probably do this 5 to 6 days a week, but sometimes I hit it every single day, and I've been fairly consistent with it. And there's a reason behind this. Like, this, in all honesty, this could just be like a funny thing that I just do, and it's weird, but it works for me. But I hope at the very least that this gives you a laugh. The reasoning behind why I do this is growing up, I would always have very negative thoughts about myself, and my main source of humor was self-deprecating humor, and I would always fill my own mind with clouded thoughts, negative words, and negative self-talk, and that sort of thing. And I did this up until college. I even did this, like, currently. I probably did this like this past weekend. Like, I do this very often. It's something that I've definitely struggled with. It's hard for me to take a compliment. It's hard for me not to talk down on myself, and that's something I'm working on. And so the biggest reason behind this was to kind of get over the thoughts in my own head. And this connects because when you close your eyes, what happens? I don't know about you, but for me, when I close my eyes and I start moving or try to do something, my mind is just flooded with the most absurd possible thoughts ever. Like, when I first tried doing this and just walking down like 5 steps without looking and just closing my eyes, I had the urge every second to open my eyes and like figure out where I was, figure out where everything else was. And in those 5 seconds, I literally thought, oh, I was gonna run into a wall, a door was gonna slam out and hit me, someone was just gonna tackle me if I was doing this in like even in my own backyard. Just now, you'll see videos, you might have seen me kind of like stuttering or taking slower steps. That was because I was afraid, right? Like, maybe a bird will come flying right into my face, or a tree will fall down on me. Regardless of whatever the thought was, generally it was pretty absurd. I would survey the area before doing this practice, and I would see that it's a completely open field. It's a completely flat ground. There's nothing in the way. There's no people. I don't see any animals. There's not a single thing that could happen. But the second I close my eyes, my mind immediately goes to the worst possible thing, which is creating random stories or random issues that could come up. So that was the first thing, is to realize that how absurd my mind is. Because without realizing that, sometimes you kind of get lost in that. And a lot of times, whether it be through business decisions or just relationships, or just making bigger decisions in my life, making a purchase or what have you, my mind would always go immediately to the most negative outcomes, right? And that held true even to today. And what I like to do is I like to allow my mind to realize how absurd it can be. Now, I don't know if that makes any sense, but for me it did, and it still does. And I just need to realize that there was an issue to even begin with. The second reason for me blindfolding myself and trying to walk around and whatnot is to basically block out all the noise. Kind of along the same lines as my first point, it just kind of blocks out the noise for me, because now that I've realized that my thoughts are absurd, I'm able to block that out, and I'm able to filter my own thoughts into a productive outcome, or a productive result, or a productive list of potential outcomes that could be possible, that are actually reasonable and probable, and not completely absurd and imagination and insanity kind of running amok in my own head, right? And so the first step, like I mentioned, is to realize that my mind can be absurd, and the second step is, through that realization, to filter out all the noise that's, being bottled up into my head. And the last reason is kind of bringing number one and number two together, and the result of being able to realize my absurdity, block out the noise, leads to this third thing, which is overcoming my fears or making crucial decisions, right? And so for me, one thing that came up recently was I switched jobs. I moved from Florida, and now I work in Maryland, and that was a big shift for me. It came at a weird time, and I just wasn't too sure. Like, switching jobs, it could be a good look, could be a bad look. Is it better for my career, for my professional development? There was a lot of things, a lot of factors, moving and cost of moving, cost of living differences, taxes in Maryland versus Florida. The list goes on, and throughout this entire process, my mind was just thinking, what's the safest thing that you can do that will cause the least amount of stress and will not affect my daily routine? And obviously moving was not the call for that, right? That's the exact opposite. The best, cheapest option for me would have been to stay in Florida, maybe attempt to get a raise, remain at the same house, don't worry about any moving, don't worry about any costs, don't worry about any drama or what have you. But I decided against that. And I think a lot of that has to do with my ability to realize that a lot of these negative thoughts and a lot of these fears of change were able to be mitigated through my continuous practice of blocking out the noise in my own head. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but that's just one example of how this has helped me in my life. And although it's a very literal and very unorthodox way to kind of teach myself the importance of realizing that my mind can be absurd, that I should block out the noise and use that to make crucial decisions and be able to navigate my decision-making process a little bit clearer. I know it's weird, but it's something that I do, and I think it helps me. And if this can at all help anybody, which it honestly may not help anyone at all, if it can help at least just one person, it would make my day, because I think it's important. Sometimes you need to do some absurd things in order to, find and see results. And maybe one day I'll come up with a different method that I use that's a little less dangerous or mysterious, or I don't know what word you want to choose for it. But I think it's important to really realize that my own mind can run amok, and if I don't tame it, if I don't put some boundaries on it, it can really run my life in a very negative direction. So this is my way of fixing that. If you want, next time you see me, let me know and we can run through this exercise together. I would definitely recommend starting in small spurts and being consistent in where you do this exercise. So I usually did about 5 to 10 seconds, or as long as I could, and then close my eyes and proceed to walk. At first, I definitely was not confident with my walk. My walking speed was probably like a quarter of what my normal speed is, but now I can comfortably walk at a normal pace with my eyes closed. And even still, like, I've gone to the same spot every single time in Florida, and even still, right up until I moved out, I would still be super nervous about taking that first step, that 8th step, that 90th step. It would still be nerve-wracking, and that might have to do with just like the logic of it, or What I like to point it to is the fact that no matter how common or how used to something you get, there's still an opportunity for your mind to flip a switch and become afraid and live in that fear, because I think our mind loves that fear, feeds off of that fear. And trying to make sure that, give it a cap and don't let fear run amok in your own mind. For me, blocking out noise, blocking out negative self-talk, this is a small little exercise that I like to do that kind of helps me, and I think it's really provided a really positive outcome for me in my life, and I hope it does for you too. And I hope you are able to find some sort of value. If not, I hope you're able to share what you personally do to block out the noise in your own head so that you can have a clear mind and focus on the decisions at hand and the problems that you're facing in front of you at the moment. So I would love to hear your guys' tips and tricks. Other than that, that's all I got for this week. I hope this at least made you laugh. Sending all the love and all the best wishes for your personal development journey, because we got to grow together. Other than that, I think we're out. That's all I got for today. So stay safe, stay you. All right, let's see if I can turn the camera off. My blindfold on. I know the feel. All right, I found it. See you later, guys.